Honorable Chairperson and members, before you is Major General Robre Ismail, Air Force Commander, Malawi Air Force. Thank you, Honorable Chairperson.
You may take your seat, Major General. Are you Major General or Brigadier? Major General. Major General, may you have a seat? Yeah. Major General, we would like to proceed by officially welcoming you to the Parliament Ad Hoc Inquiry Committee, which is investigating the plane crash that took place on 10th June 2024 in Ntungwa and led to the loss of lives of the former Vice President, Dr. Salos Klaus Chilima, and 8 others. Feel free and relax, settle down. We just want to have a chat with you. But before we do that, we will request introductions of the members of the committee and the secretariat. So the members are on the right, the secretariat is on the left. So may I have the introductions by members of the committee?
Good afternoon. Ishmael Nkumba, the MP for Blantyre City, Ndira the Malabada Nyambado constituency, and I'm a member of this ad hoc committee. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair. My name is Mphatso Jones Boti. I'm a member of Parliament for Lilongwe Mode constituency. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair. My name is Felix Njawala, Member of Parliament for Mwanza Central constituency. Thank you.
Chair, good afternoon. My name is Joshua Malango, and I'm a Member of Parliament for Dedzagasina and a member of this ad hoc committee.
Good afternoon, through you, Chair. My name is Dairis Moses Mbengo, MP for Ncheudzos Mvai constituency. Thank you.
Afternoon, Chair. My name is Mackenzie Chipalamoto Nkwazi, Member of Parliament for Nkatabe North, and I'm a member of this ad hoc committee. Thank you.
Afternoon, Chair. I am Gilbert Konyongwa, Mlangi North MP. Thank you.
Chair, my name is Dumisano Lindani, Member of Parliament for Zomba Tondwe, and an ad hoc committee member in this committee.
Good afternoon, Chairperson. My name is James Mpunga. I represent the people of Zomba City South constituency, and I'm a vice chair of this committee.
Secretariat.
Honorable Chair, Mlongani Kabich, Chief Clerk Assistant in the Secretariat.
Good afternoon, Chair. My name is Alfred Bangani, Research Officer, Parliament.
Good afternoon, Chair. I'm Opire Polepole Ali, Committee Clerk. Thank you. Good afternoon, Chair, and all honorable members. My name is Suzy Okunga, Principal Public Relations Officer, Parliament Secretariat.
Good afternoon, Chair. My name is Patrice Nkono, and I'm a consultant with the Secretariat.
Good afternoon, Chair. My name is Sipiwe Komwa, Senior Clerk Assistant, Table Office.
Good afternoon, Chair. I am Louis Maki, Secretariat.
Good afternoon. Through you, Honorable Chair. My name is Anika Nyangalazi, Research Officer.
Through you, Honorable Chairperson, my name is Charles Makalani, Committee Clerk. Thank you.
Major General, my name is Walter Nyamilando Manda. I'm the chairman of the ad hoc committee and also a member of parliament from Sanje Southwest. Just for your information, our hearing today is being broadcasted live on Parliament TV, Facebook and YouTube, and various media houses. And also to inquire from you, what kind of language would you want us to communicate in this hearing?
Thank you very much, Chair. And thank you very much, honorable members, the ad hoc committee, the secretariat. Honorable Chair, I think I'll be comfortable to use the two languages where necessary. Thank you, Chair.
Much obliged. So we'll use both English and Chichewa interchangeably.
Affirmative, Chair.
Major General, the purpose, the objective of this hearing is to establish military command responsibilities and procedures governing support to VIP and VVIP travel. This is against the background of where you were the Air Force commander at the time, as a senior officer responsible for operational readiness, safety and management of Malawi Air Force aircrafts and personnel. Your testimony is expected to assist the committee in understanding the Air Force's role in authorizing and overseeing the flight, the airworthiness status of the Dornier 228 aircraft, the operational procedures that were followed before departure, and the chain of command governing military aviation operations. You were served with summons, and you've been asked to come before the ad hoc committee to testify on the role that you played by yourself and your office in the planning and preparations for the late Vice President's flight on 10th June 2024, including travel arrangements, operational responsibilities, military decision-making, communications with government institutions, and approvals obtained leading to the use of the military aircraft by the late Vice President. Major General, before you respond, would like you to take an oath so that you can respond to us fully and truthfully. May I request Secretariat to submit an oath?
I, Major General Robert Ismail,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
by the Almighty God
by the Almighty God
that the evidence I shall give
that the evidence I shall give
shall be the truth,
shall be the truth,
the whole truth,
the whole truth,
and nothing but the truth.
and nothing but the truth.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Major General Robert Ismail, you are now free to respond in the manner you deem fit. We have received copies of your presentation. You may want to talk to your presentation or read it. It is entirely up to you, but the floor is now yours.
Thank you very much, Chair. Thank you very much, honorable members. Yeah, I have been summoned to witness on the inquiry into the Chikangawa plane crash, and that I hereby appear before this committee to testify on the role played by myself
and my office in the planning and preparation of the late Vice President's flight on 10th June 2024, including travel arrangements, operational responsibilities, military decision-making, communications with government institutions, and approvals obtained leading to the use of the military aircraft by the late Vice President. Honorable Chair, I shall start by indicating that as a commander of the Air Force, a force that is one of the services, the Malawi Defense Force, has the duties and responsibilities to make sure that the Malawi nation has a fleet of aircrafts to be able to render services both to VIP, support the military in its operations, and even the nation in terms of disaster management, ambulance in such cases as ambulance, casualty evacuations, and all other military operations like paratrooping, transportation of dignitaries, and even transportation of cargo to within Malawi and even outside Malawi. This, to be done, needs safety. We ensure that all that are using the aircraft are safe and that they are able to go anywhere they want, but under safety rules. As a service commander and all other services, we only operate under instructions, orders from the higher authorities, which is the Malawi Defense Force headquarters. So whatever we do is governed by rules, orders from the higher authorities. In that, I want to say that it is always through the office of the commander that goes to the commander of the Air Force or any service. Now, the services, like the Air Force, has two bases, with the headquarters, where the Air Force commander is, and the deputy, and its directors. Below that, we have two bases, which is the rotary base, which operates helicopters. This is based in Lilongwe. We have the fixed wing, or fixed wing base, which is in Zomba. Its role is to operate fixed wing like the Donias. We have now the MA600s. All these are operated by personnel that are trained, qualified, and that they are always under training to make sure that they fly safely, and they go through intensive training, both in Malawi and outside Malawi, especially in countries where these aircrafts were obtained from. For example, for Donia, they have to go for simulator training in Germany. For the rotary wing, they have to go for simulator training in Marignan, France. These are supposed to be done every year to ensure that all the crew are well trained, especially in emergency operations, solely emergency, because we cannot train on emergency operations on the background of the mission. This mission started with another mission which was conducted on 8th June 2024. This, I received a call from Professor Brigadier Dan Kuali, who called me to request the procedure for acquisition of an aircraft, because there is need for an aircraft to ferry the remains of former Attorney General Raf Kasambara, SC, from Blantyre to Mzuzu on 9th June 2024. So I told him about the procedure that he has to call the joint headquarters who would give us orders on how to go about this mission, because it was an ambulance mission. So for every mission, there's a requirement to configure the aircraft to the mission that we've been given. If it is ambulance, if it is paradropping, if it is VIP flight, we have to configure that aircraft to that mission. So the air transport order, this is a military order for the Air Force to conduct a flight operation given by the headquarters. That is, when headquarters has a mission and we are told there is supposed to be a mission order. Now, this order is issued in writing for any type of mission, including VIP flights. Verbal or telephonic communication sometimes are given exceptionally in case of emergency, but that has to be followed by a written order as soon as possible, that is 2 days or 48 hours to the latest. This is a requirement that is contained in the Standard Operating Procedures, SOP page 19, paragraph 244. Everybody knows that if there is an emergency, he may communicate in whatever way. For example, military operations, ambulance. We say we will carry out that mission, but a written order must come within 2 days. So orders were given by phone through General Jafu to the Air Force to ferry the remains of late Kasambara from Blantyre to Mzuzu on 9th June 2024. And the Air Force was to send estimates as soon as possible. So estimates were sent on the same day for a flight from Zomba to Chileka, Chileka to Mzuzu, and from Mzuzu back to Zomba with the family members. That was the initial mission request that we received. But that mission order was from headquarters was not yet issued. So we went ahead to prepare the aircrafts. In preparation of the aircraft, we make sure that every technician, a professional, takes his job to make sure that his part is well checked and confirmed that it is serviceable. That is avionics, instruments, electricals, engine and airframe. And these are entered in the aircraft logbook, which the bases have. In both bases, they have that document, where when an inspection is done and it's confirmed that the aircraft is airworthy or serviceable, whoever does the inspection endorses in that document. Now, the late Vice President's flight to Mzuzu on 10th June 2024. On 9th June, at around 15:20 hours, I received a call from General Dr. Paul Valentino Piri, the former MDF commander, informing me that the Vice President wanted to attend the burial ceremony of late Raf Kasambara in Nkata Bay, and that he wants to fly by Donia. He stated that he wants to attend the burial mass in Nkata Bay and fly back to Lilongwe to see off the head of state on his departure overseas by 1400 hours on the 10th June 2024. This time, the Donia 228 Tango 03 08148 was already flying to Mzuzu on an ambulance flight mission hired by the family of late Ralph Kasambara. So after receiving this flight order by phone, I called the deputy commander, who was also responsible for operations in the Air Force, based in Zomba, who communicated back to me that communication has been done to the crew in Mzuzu. The same time around 1700 hours, 9th June 2024. I also called the pilot in command, Late Colonel Owen Sambalopa, who confirmed that they would take off from Mzuzu Airport at 0700 hours, 10th June 2024. Now, developments on 10th June 2024. At 7 o'clock in the morning, Late Colonel Sambalopa communicated to me by phone that they are departing Mzuzu Airport with 3 crew, that is the pilot in command, and the technician, and they would refuel at Kamuzu International Airport before flying back to Mzuzu with the Vice President. That was following the amount of fuel that they had to be able to fly back to Mzuzu, fly back to Kia, and fly back to Mzuzu to pick up the family members, and then fly back to Zomba. So he also communicated the composition of the crew as Colonel Owen Sambalopa, pilot in command, Major Florence Seremani Ngwirinji, co-pilot, and Major Wells Aidini as a technician. 3 crew and negative passenger, that is no passenger. At 0748 hours, 10th June, the aircraft landed at Kia, and Colonel Sambalopa late communicated to me at 0750 that they had landed at Kia safely. At 0917 hours, 10th June, the Donia Tango 03 took off from Kia, heading north to Mzuzu with 3 crew and 6 passengers, including the late Vice President, expecting landing at Mzuzu Airport at 10:02 hours. At 10:20 on 10th June 2024, we're at the MDF headquarters conference room, where I went for a meeting with the Commander MDF, the Army Commander, Deputy Defense Force Commander, and the Chief of Staff. I received a call from the Chief Operations Malawi Air Force, Major General Chikandula, who was also the Deputy Air Force Commander, informing me that Donia carrying the VP had not landed in Mzuzu due to bad weather, and that Mzuzu Tower has been trying to call them, but there has been no contact. He reported that the last contact was at 10:10 hours when the aircraft was 20 nautical miles north of Mzuzu Airport. This is about 37 kilometers north of Mzuzu Airport. I told him to relay back to Mzuzu Tower to inform the crew that if they have a challenge in landing, they should not attempt a landing, but fly back to Kia. This, looking at the time, 10:10, and the program that the VP would go to Ngata Bay, come back to Mzuzu, and fly to Kia, looking at the time, then 1400 hours would not work. So if there was still bad weather, and with the time, then there was no need to continue flying, but try to fly back. I said this because I had very good example. I have suffered 2 crashes of a helicopter in bad weather. Although it is difficult to communicate to the crew, it is always necessary to make sure that you communicate and reason with the crew so that at least you come to an understanding that it is not necessary that we continue with the mission. These two missions were somehow related to VIP flights. Immediately after talking to him, I went back to the conference room and he requested to see the MDF commander in the office, where I reported to him about the lost contact between Mzuzu Tower and the Donia aircraft. He recommended the same for the crew not to attempt a landing, but to fly back to Kia. Establishment of a search and rescue center at Lilongwe Air Base. At 1100 hours, I requested that I return to the base to establish a search and rescue center to start that operation. I reported the incident to the two base commanders who were already informed of the incident by the Chief Operations Officer. And I also called the Senior Staff Officer, Lieutenant Colonel Mapando, who already had the information from the air traffic controller in Mzuzu. Arriving at Lilongwe Air Base, an operation center was established, following up communications between traffic in the airspace with both Kia and Mzuzu and our Lilongwe Air Base control tower. So I was physically in the control tower, listening to all traffic that was flying around the airspace. Unfortunately, we couldn't get any contact. The only contact that we had with Kia was when the Ethiopian Airways was flying in the area, and the message was relayed by Kia control tower to that aircraft to check on the other frequencies if they could catch the frequency that the Donia was operating on. Then I communicated to Zomba Air Base to organize a search and rescue team to drive to Chireka Airport and prepare one MA600 to fly to Lilongwe to marry up with Lilongwe Air Base technical team to join in the search at Chikangawa. As military service commanders receive orders from higher command and execute those orders, service commanders do not communicate outside the Defense Force except on approvals from the commander, if there is need to. In cases of ambulance and this particular flight, as no written orders from MDF headquarters were issued yet, this was due to the urgency of the mission. The order for use of the aircraft by the late Vice President was taken as an order from higher command, awaiting written orders, since the aircraft was already in Mzuzu. An operational order, number 31-2024, was issued the same day, on 10th June 2024, for the base to conduct the mission, and that is on Annex 2. Estimates were sent to MDF headquarters for funding of the mission, that is to be able to cater for fuel. Communication to neighboring Air Force commanders. I informed the MDF commander of my intention to contact Zambia Air Force commander, to seek for support. He gave me a go-ahead, and at 15:53 hours on 10th June 2024, I called Zambia Air Force Commander Lieutenant General Nyoni to inform him of this incident, and he requested support from his Air Force for a search and rescue, plus an ambulance to assist in the operation. This was in accordance with the SADC Standing Aviation Committee agreement that we had, that was agreed between SADC Air Chiefs or Air Force commanders to communicate and support neighboring countries in times of disaster. This was agreed in a 21st SADC Standing Aviation Committee SAC that was held in Cape Town, South Africa, 27th, 28th February 2024. General Nyoni promised to prepare for the support, and that 2 helicopters would leave the next morning, since it was already late, and that diplomatic channels would follow later. That is what we agreed. That is a screenshot, of course, between General Nyoni and myself on Annex 4. The search and rescue team from Zomba, at around 17:45 hours on 10th June, the team from Zomba Air Base, led by Major General Kandula, arrived at Kia by MY600 aircraft. They were taken to Lilongwe Air Base for a briefing before leaving for Chikangawa. On 11th June 2024, at 0300 hours in the morning, the Air Force Search and Rescue Team departed Lilongwe for Chikangawa, and now the Search and Rescue Team from Zambia. So now we have Zomba and the Zambians now. At 1811 on 10th June, the Zambia Air Force Commander General Nyoni confirmed that the Search and Rescue and ambulance team are ready to leave at first light in the morning of 11th June 2024. And at 0600 hours on 11th June, Zambia Air Force aircrafts AB212, and that is ambulance, and Estron SAR aircraft departed Lusaka Air Base. At 12:10, it was communicated to me by Major General Kandula that Donia Tango 03 had been located close to the Elephant Rock at Ntungwa in Chikangawa Forest. That is in coordinated 114 Dismo 39 Sierra 03347 .83 Echo with no survivors. At 0827 hours, General Nyoni communicated that the 2 helicopters are at Chipata refueling, ready to arrive around 12 o'clock. 12 o'clock. And at 12 o'clock, the 2 Zambian helicopters landed at Kia. And 14:35, 2 Zambia Air Force helicopters arrived at Raiplai football ground to ferry the remains to Kia. At 16:25, the Zambia aircrafts departed Raiplai with 9 bodies, with a stopover for refueling at Kasungu Airfield. At around 1800 hours, the 2 aircrafts landed at Kia with the remains. On 11th June 2024, an accident report was sent to the manufacturer, now General Atomics, that was RUAG at the time. General Atomics responded the same day. They sent an aircraft accident report form for available information. The forms were filled and sent back the following day. The manufacturer informed that he has notified the German Federal Bureau of Aircraft Investigation, who are willing to send an investigator to Malawi as their procedure. Just aircraft information, the aircraft Donia DO22822 Kilo, serial number 8148, was manufactured in 1988 and had 3,489 hours to the day of the accident. It had no historical background of serious failures. Actually, this aircraft was airworthy, and it had its calendar inspection on March 2024. The next inspection was due in July 2024. For many years, this aircraft had been flying without an operating emergency locator transmitter, the Echo Lima Tango ELT, due to obsolete battery pack. These battery packs, normally the fixed wing and the helicopters, they use the same type of emergency locator transmitter. It's a Joliet 1978-2 using a 6 battery pack. Now these batteries had a potential of 3 years, and every 3 years were supposed to be changed. It was a problem for countries like Malawi, who relied on support from government, and at times it was very difficult to get support. So there were requests of change to another type of frequency, another type of ELT. This coincided with a service bulletin that was issued by Donia almost the same time. This bulletin changed this type of transmitter to a new type with a longer battery pack life limit and uses a different operating frequency, as the former had 3 years of life limit. Due to funding challenges, this service was never applied since the quotation was sent to higher headquarters. I've indicated that to Annex 5, where this was sent to our headquarters, dated 1st September 2006. From 2006, there have been follow-ups to make sure that funding is at least given so that we are able to procure this. This was a retrofit. A retrofit is that you have, like in a car, you have equipments like a cruise speed or whatever, and you want to add something else to upgrade the cruise speed. That would need rewiring of the whole car, in this case, the rewiring of the whole Donia aircraft. And that needed that aircraft to go to Germany because it was also due for a major, let me call it major, yes, inspection, where they were supposed to do deeper maintenance. So with lack of that, and the safety issues that may come when using this equipment, we just put it on off position because there's 3 positions. The first one is automatic. In automatic position, this thing emits a signal on its frequency or an impact. If it is flying, you don't need this thing because it doesn't work. It only works when it is on position automatic and it is on impact, failing which it's something that it will always be there in the aircraft, but it won't work. It can only work on impact or hard landing or a crash. That's one thing. And again, this equipment forms part of the minimum equipment list. Every aircraft, when you procure an aircraft, you have a list of items that are basic for the operation of that particular aircraft. So this was one of the minimum equipment list that we had. So we continued flying on this aircraft and the other aircrafts, of course, without the ELT, awaiting attention of the higher authorities to fund this equipment. I don't know whether it's necessary that I have included the institution of an independent investigation team from BFU, from Germany, that is the German Federal Bureau of Aircraft Investigation. I was a member of this investigation team as an ex-officio. So I believe that this can be discussed at another level or another forum, because it's a long, now we'll be discussing about the BFU investigation document, which I have, and I was a member of that investigation team. So I'll skip the BFU report and whatever. And allow me, Chair, to come to a conclusion. In my conclusion, just said Donia 228, that was an ambulance mission ferrying the remains of late Raf Kasambara from Chireka to Mzuzu, was later requisitioned to transport the late Vice President, Right Honorable Dr. Salos Chirima, on 9th June 2024. That was the message, to fly from Mzuzu to Lilongwe to attend burial of late Raf Kasambala on 10th June 2024 and returned to Lilongwe to see off the head of state who was to fly overseas. The aircraft left Kamuzu International Airport with 3 crew, the late Vice President, and 5 other passengers. The ATC lost control with the aircraft until it was discovered that it crashed at Ntungwa around Chikangawa forest the following day with no survivors. The remains were flown by Zambian ambulance helicopter to Lilongwe, submitted for their inquiry's consideration. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, honorable members.
Thank you, Major General Ismail, for your presentation, your explanation, your testimony that has been made available to us. I will open the floor to members to ask any questions. Planter Malabada.
Thank you very much, Chair and Major General Robert Ismail, for quite an elaborate presentation. I have 2 questions, Honorable Chair. Number 1, what information were you provided with the 3-member crew that had returned from Zuzu and landed at Kia to pick up the late Vice President and others? Second question, Honorable Chair, it's become apparent and clear that the MDF and MAF were very aware that the aircrafts, specifically the Donia, did not contain a black box as well as the ELT. It was not functioning. Was the Office of the President and the Office of the Vice President made aware of this condition of the Donia? Thank you.
Major General, you can address that.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Honorable. The first question on the information from crew that flew from Mzuzu to Kia, there was no information apart from indicating that they left Mzuzu Airport at 07:05 because he was reporting of 7 o'clock as he was going now to the aircraft. So we are talking of 7 o'clock, they left around 07:05. And that when they arrived at Kia, they just reported that they arrived safely and that they would refuel with 4 hours to be able to go to Mzuzu, come back to Kia, then Mzuzu again, and fly back to Chileka. That's the information that that was given to us, and the number of passengers that was communicated to him for a flight to Mzuzu. About that's the second question, Chair. The black box that has been mentioned is a flight data recorder. This component, much as we call it black box, is not black, it's orange in color. It is always carried at the back of the aircraft. Its function is to record all the flight data, that is engine parameters, for the fixed wing, we are talking of the throttle, the banking, and all that is displayed during the flight. Some of the flight recorders are also connected to the cockpit recording. That as it records the parameters of the flight, it also records all communications that are done in the ICSs. ICSs is internal communication system that the pilots use to talk to each other. And nobody else can hear that except the crew. So this component will record that communication on ICS there's that communication. In some aircrafts, we have where the VIP sits, we have another telephone that the VIP is able to communicate to the crew. I'll give a very good example. One of the head of states used to say, "Tufuna tidiekai tabazungulirani." He's just talking to the crew, nobody else listens. And it also has a system where if the head of states wants to come on a radio, he can communicate using that telephone. He can make an address while flying. We have that aircraft, one of the helicopters. And that particular aircraft has a flight recorder. It is there. It is one of the aircrafts that has a flight recorder because it's solely VIP. With the table, the kitchen, and everything is there. So the black box in this particular donia was not part of the minimum equipment list. It was not there. It is not there. It is not a requirement for a military operated aircraft to be installed with this black box, so-called black box. Reason why is that these aircrafts are considered as state assets. Under the Geneva Convention, a Chicago Convention, it allows state aircrafts to be equipped with these components as they wish, as those states wish. Otherwise, it is not a mandatory requirement for operation of this particular aircraft, except for ICAO rules, IATA rules, where companies or airlines use aircrafts for passenger or commercial use. This one is a requirement. No airplane can fly without a flight recorder. It is not allowed. There are these rules that are given by ICAO and IATA. IATA is an organization that looks after passengers. ICAO is the civil aviation rules and regulations. So there are rules, Chicago, ICAO, and IATA. ICAO and IATA emphasizes on the installation of a flight data. Now for military, why we do not consider this as a requirement for us to operate is one, an ELT, as I said, it will only emit a signal at impact. Now, for security reasons, if, for example, we are in the field and we crash, a crash landing, that signal will go out and everybody will be able to pick it up. And we'll say, oh, now the enemy is at this place. And another thing is that that ELT, apart from the automatic position, it has a manual position and off position. On off position, that's where we put it because we did not need it. But on manual, you can take that component, it has an antenna. You pull out that antenna. If you are lost, for example, in case of Chikangawa, for example, if there was, that component was working, and there was a survivor, one would pick it up and start a meeting. We would do, for example, that's why I went straight to the base and be in the tower. We could pick up that signal and talk to that particular person. So you know our friend is at this place. Alas, this thing was not working. Our helicopters, all the helicopters and all the aircrafts, they are equipped with an ELT. A working ELT would not have any challenges locating where that crash has happened. We had the equipment, yes, but we couldn't do anything. I mean, it's very difficult to understand this. For security reasons, I wouldn't say we have so many aircrafts that are just standing there, but not serviceable. They may be airworthy, yes, but not serviceable. Airworthiness and serviceability are two different things. So through you, Chair, I believe that I've answered the question from the Honorable.
Honorable Chair, I wanted to know if the offices of the President and the Vice President were made aware that the ELT's battery was down, was not working, to allow them to be able to make informed decisions as to whether to procure the services of the Donia or not.
Thank you, Chair, through you, Honorable. Thank you for that question. As I said that this was in 2006 that this quotation was submitted. Normally, our belief is that the headquarters, our headquarters, is always in contact with the Ministry of Defense, the Ministry of Finance, Treasury, because they are the ones that give the money. So all these quotations normally, because they also need Forex. So we believe that these are not the only requirements that we submitted for support. Servicing of these aircrafts have been there for years. We've been crying for servicing of these aircrafts. I would request through you, Chair, we have in Parliament a Defense and Security Committee, right? A Committee of Defense and Security. I last saw them when I was a major in the Air Force coming to see the aircrafts. And the other time that we met in the Defense headquarters, I was trying to explain the need to have a helicopter. We were the first ones when there was flooding in Mozambique in 2000. Malawi was on the map. We were the first ones to arrive there with those aircrafts that are grounded for so long, for more than 10 years. We've been everywhere, but now we are seeking assistance from other people. We understand, yes, that we have challenges in Forex or whatever, but I don't know what to say, but it is important to take this as a requirement for the nation. It's a requirement for the nation. I also gave another example. This I was talking when even the SPC was around. I said, imagine that the head of state is sick and we have to take him to hospital. So we go out with our sirens, ambulance and whatever. The head of state? No. This was just to highlight a point, the need to have these aircrafts. Ambulance. You cannot do anything without ambulance. But here we are. So the office of the VP, the office, in fact, the VP came, the late VP came to our base. I was base commander at that time. We gave him all the requirements. And what he said was, why don't you sell out all these aircrafts and buy new ones? So a bright idea, yes. But if you are failing to service your car, can you start budgeting for buying another car, a new one? I mean, that's the situation that we have been in for years. And here we are talking of. So to make the point clear, the ELT is not a requirement in the minimum equipment list for flying. The black box is not a requirement to make an aircraft airworthy or serviceable, because they don't contribute anything to a flight, except that you want to get information on the conditions of flight during an incident or accident. For the ELT, it is only when you are crashing that you need this equipment. We are not planning to crash. through you, Chair, I think
Major General, are you suggesting that the former Vice President knew that the Donia 228 did not have an ELT, did not have the black box, when you've indicated that he came and inspected the base and advised you to dispose some of the platforms we have to buy new ones? Is that an insinuation that he knew?
Thank you, Chair. What I'm trying to say, he did not come to inspect the aircraft, but he came to visit. And in our presentation, as ministers come, he also came. This is what we showed him. Looking at the enormous amount of money that was there, that was his suggestion that I think we need to change these things. You're saying this has been grounded for 10 years, this one 14 years, this one 2 years. Why can't we just buy new equipment? Not necessarily that he came to inspect the serviceability or airworthiness of the aircraft, but it was one of the presentations that was given to him. Knowing whether the ELT is not functional or there is no black box, I mean, we wouldn't tell a passenger about that, because for that aircraft to conduct a mission, that's not a requirement, unless if you think that maybe today we will crash or something happens. But the whole government, I'm sure, is aware, even now, that these aircrafts, that's the status, that's the condition of the aircraft. And we've been crying for years. Thank you, Chair.
There's Sakasena, and then we come this side to Karabi North.
Chair, good afternoon or good evening. I want to engage the retired Major General, just to confirm on your presentation, period number 2, the order which was given on phone, is it through General, you're saying General Jaff or General Valentino?
Thank you, Honorable. For the ambulance, it was General Jaff. It was General Jaff.
All right. You had indicated that you had a phone call with a pilot in command around 1700 hours on June 2024. You called the pilot in command, late Colonel Owen Sambalopa, who had confirmed they will take off Zuzu Airport at 7 hours on 10th. Do you remember as to what time did you spoke to General Sambalopa on this day? And in that kind of conversation, when you're telling him the orders on the next day, did he indicate of any weather situation in Zuzu prior to 10th June, when he was talking to him in the evening of 9th June?
Thank you very much, Honorable. When I talked to him on 9th, when they landed at Mzuzu, he told me that the flight to Mzuzu was not, the weather en route to Mzuzu was not clear. It was cloudy.
And then, thank you. On your page 3 of your presentation, at 7:48, 10 June 2024, aircraft landed at Kia. Colonel Sambalopa communicated to me, that's to you, 7:50 hours that they had landed at Kia. Prior to, on the 9th, he told you that when they're landing in Zuzu, the weather was not clear. When he landed at Kia, did you ask him or him tell you about the weather when he was coming that morning hours from Zuzu to Kia? Did he say anything, or did you ask him, having that you had in mind on the situation of the previous day?
Thank you, Honorable. Through you, Chair. When he communicated to me after landing at Kia, he indicated that Mzuzu, that morning when they were leaving, it was cloudy, yes, but at least with some octas at certain levels. Octas is the Charlie Bravo, the rain cloud anyway. Now, I am a flight engineer as well. I know Mzuzu. What he said is Mzuzu, as usual, is cloudy. En route to Kia, in between, the clouds are building up. That's what he told me. We have clouds, yes, but knowing very well that I am talking to a very qualified pilot in command, and we have always flown to Mzuzu and back. We knew where to go. In most cases, if you look at the BFU report on the radar, you see that when they were going to Mzuzu, they used the lake. That's normally where we go, because it is always clear along the lake. Now, what happens is when we fly there, we arrive close to Mzuzu. We always focus on Ikwendeni. Is that called Ikwendeni? Then from there, you see an opening, and the road is our road mark. We look at the road, and now we know that once I take this road, I will arrive north of Mzuzu Airport. So Mzuzu, in months like this one, it's never clear. It's never clear. There's always cloud at certain levels.
Thank you so much. I'm glad that you have, in your response, you have referred to BFU reports, because that's where I was going. The BFU reports, which you have referred to, it says, it had mentioned that the flight was flying, at a certain point, the Donia was flying low, as low as 7,000 miles, is it? Instead of going up to 9,000 above, maybe to have a clear view. So you're saying you are the engineer, you have flying that Donia before. Do you have any idea why the flight was flying that low?
Thank you, Honorable. Through you, Chair. Actually, I'm a flight engineer on the helicopters, not on the Donia. However, from BFU report, I don't know whether we'll be talking on BFU report, but if you look at the BFU report, you will notice that when the crew submitted their flight plan, the flight plan requested to fly throughout at 9,000 feet. Why was 9,000 feet safer? Is because the level of your octaves, your level of your cloud is always below 9. That is one reason. The next reason is that radar, for Kia radar to pick you, to be able to see you where you are, is around that level. Below that, up to 7,000 feet, below that, no radar can pick you. That's why when they arrived in Mzuzu, what happened is they were flying high and low, but always, most of the times, below 7,000 feet, which means no radar could pick them up. That is one. Two, they were in the mountains. That impedes the signal, radio signal, from the tower to you. So there are two issues that contributes to this challenge. One, the level of flight. Unfortunately, there was no first survivor, we have no survivor, to ask them, why did you leave? You requested for 9, and you were given 9,000 to fly straight to Mzuzu. Why did you change to 1 to 7,000? And then why did you leave the course, arriving NASA, diverted about 3 nautical miles away from the point NASA? Why was this ABCD? Why these loops and whatever? I don't think, Chair.
Okay, Chair, I have two more questions. The last one before I go to the last one.
Sorry. Just on your question.
Yes.
On your question, I want to weigh in on your question. So you are a flight engineer. What do you make of these irregular flight maneuverings that were happening after it had crossed, is it Kasungu, NASA Point? What you, as an engineer, apart from the attitude, yes, we understand, you have explained, but these maneuverings, going in circles, in loops, going, what do you make of this? What would be your views?
Thank you, Chair. Unfortunately, I may not be able to, because that's where the whole issue is. That's where things started to go wrong. And that's where the investigation has to zero in. That's the whole issue. The diversion, the attitudes, the loops, and all that, if we sit down and try to analyze all that, we will definitely come to kind of an understanding of what may have been happening. This would be hypothesis anyway. But I believe that at the end of all this, we may come to an understanding of what was happening to the crew, to the aircraft, to the weather. That's the issue that we need to be focusing on. And I believe that the committee will have certain arrangements to go into the BFU report. I have the report. I was a member of that investigation. I may have my own understanding, but I don't know whether it will be necessary to discuss that at this point.
Thank you. So I give back the floor to Dezagasina to wind up. If anybody has a follow-up questions, let's ask those after Dezagasina has exhausted his questions.
Thank you so much, Chair. Page 5 of your presentation, 11 June 2024. You are saying at 300 hours, the Air Force search and rescue team departed Lilongwe for Chikangawa. I want to understand this 300 hours. Is it 3 a.m. of 11? So the search, you went there at 3 a.m. What was happening before that?
They landed at Kia last night around 6. Now, these are people who are flying from Zomba to arrive at Kia. We had to go pick them up. We had to have our own briefing because in the military, we always work on orders and briefings. You are here in Lilongwe. Yes, they would ask, why are we here? What's our mission? So they came to the base now. We had a briefing looking at what has transpired so far. We are looking at the 20 nautical miles, 37 kilometers north of Mzuzu, to understand exactly. Because at one point you would see that people are concentrating in Chikangawa. Why Chikangawa are not 37 kilometers north of Mzuzu? It's because there was communication that one of the towers had picked a signal of a cell phone. Now that's the point when we said, 37 north is not this south, Chikangawa is south. So we had to turn to Chikangawa now and start. That's all that information was supposed to be given to these guys who are coming from Zomba to marry up with the crew, technicians and engineers from Lilongwe, and to drive now to. So we had to find fuel for that. Where would they go? It's called in Chikangawa, Akagonakuti. So we had to source a place where to go transport, fuel, and even food, because we knew that would take time. Now, to do all that logistics, it took us some time, and the only time to leave was 3 a.m.
Right, I want to take you, Chair. The last where I'm concentrating my question is Annex 5. You have submitted Annex 5. Are you there?
I am there.
All right. So during this is I think, is it a quotation? Is a quotation for Donia 228/208K, dated 1 September 2006, and I think the one who was receiving it was a commander of Malawi Defense Force. This time we were in the you were at the air wing.
Thank you, Honorable. Thank you, Chair. Yes, I was still in the Air Wing. Actually, in the Air Force, I joined the Air Force in 1980. I started working as an engineer in 1984. So all this time I was there, I have worked with General Mark Chiziko, with all the rest of the commanders that have served the MDF. But I was a young officer then.
So this quotation, which the MDF sourced, it was addressed to which commander? Who was the commander in that time, and who was the commander in chief?
General Chiziko was the commander that time, and 2006, you may wish to remind me, the commander in chief that time. Okay, it must be. You may wish to remind me.
2006, who was the president? Was it the late Bingo Mtalika?
2006, probably, yes.
And who was the commanding officer at the air wing?
It's General Tende.
And on page 507, there's I've marked there, there's retrofit of 18 parameter flight data recorder. There's a price at the end. There was the cockpit voice recorder. There's the transponder and the 406 megahertz ELT, according to SB 228/256. Can you confirm these are the some of these are the batteries of which you have said they expired 2004?
Thank you, Honorable. Thank you, Chair. These are some of the retrofit operations or actions to be done on this aircraft. And this is a proposal for quotation, that if at that time we accepted these things, this aircraft would have been equipped with these that we have read.
And can you confirm the total price at that time?
The total price was 1,282,980.65 euros at that time.
So this annex, this quotation you have presented is 2006. From 2006 to 2024, 2024, let's say 2024, have there had any other quotation which your office, like commanding office based at Air Wing, you have also tried, or you are working on the same, based on this same quotation?
Thank you, Honorable. This was just, I took hold of this just to show to the committee that this thing was not part of the, or was a component that was not working from this time that we have been, the first quotation was submitted. All along every year there have been requests for quotations, and I think now they have just said, no, I think we are no longer going to give you quotations. 2006 to date, I mean, even if it was my shop, I would say, no, please, save my...
Chair, I think that's all from the Legacy.
So we have Kadabe North, and we go to Mwanza Central, then Molanj, and then Lilongwe Mudi.
Chair, thank you very much for giving people of Katabe North to ask some questions. Major, I just have two questions. On bullet number 10, aircraft information. You said it had no known historical background of serious failure. Are you there? On your representation. So my question comes, can you provide the logbook of the said Donia, the logbook that shows maintenance progress, maintenance report of the logbook? Is it there or not? Secondly, I was coming to as an engineer, aircraft engineer. You introduced it to us that you are an aircraft engineer, but not for the said Donia, but for the helicopter. On the list of Annex 5, I see there's a lot of things which is needed here, which was supposed to be bought and fixed in the airplane. And then the same airplane is calling VVIP. So as an engineer, were you on the position to allow VVIP to board this plane? Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable. Thank you, Chair. I will start with the second part of your question, Honorable. That would it be right to allow this aircraft to fly with these items that have been mentioned? I would say that if you look at page 5 of 7 on top, it is 7 JAR Ops 1 and avionic upgrade. This was an upgrade that we are talking about. With the example that I gave you, if your car, for example, it has, you want your car to have cruise system to be able to just push something and then your car goes. That's an upgrade. Upgrade from a certain level to another level. It doesn't mean that these were on a minimum requirement list. I emphasize minimum requirement list. Minimum requirement list are items that are required on the aircraft that would allow you to be able to fly. But upgrades, automatic pilot, if you want your aircraft to have an aircraft, to have automatic pilot, you want it to have a voice recorder, you want to have that is what they are proposing, that we have this on the market. We can do this for you. This will cost you so much. It was up to us to say, please come and do this job, or not. So lack of these could not stop an aircraft from flying, because the minimum equipment list determines the airworthiness of the aircraft. If you are to determine, I'm also quality control, I'm inspector. If we are to qualify an aircraft for airworthiness, we take the minimum equipment list and compare with what we have, and also the maintenance that is being done. So airworthiness goes. This was to be an upgrade of existing systems on the minimum equipment list. On the first question, the logbooks, the books that are normally that are used on the aircraft, we have the flight logbook and we have the technical logbook. The technical logbook is always available at the base. We can always make it available because it is a very important document that you may wish to see as well, that at this particular day, engine oil was checked, it was okay, hydraulics, and all those. They are ticked and signed by the inspector. So that document is available at Zomba Air Base in the technical department. I believe that those that will be coming here will bring that and will make sure that they bring that document, the technical logbook. As for the aircraft flying logbook, that one is always in the aircraft. It was destroyed with other documents that are supposed to be in the aircraft.
So I believe we have a session with the base commander soon after engaging General. We will pursue this question further with the base commander when he comes on the technical logbook. Thank you. We move on to the next one, Mwanza Central.
Thank you very much, Chair. Some of the issues that I wanted to seek clarification from Major General have already been asked. I think the issue of whether the pilots communicated that they could not fly because weather was bad. I think that has already been done. But my interest now, Chair, is on what he said in passing, the issue of the BFU report. Can I suggest, Chair, that we invite Major General Ishmael specifically to look at the BFU report, a session just to look at the report, because when you ask about the routes and the descending, ascending, he said that's something that we need to look at. Probably that's where we can establish something. I think it is important that we have a session with Major General Ishmael on the BFU report, since he was also part of the consultants, in that team. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. We are moving on to phase 2 after phase 1. Phase 1 of evidence gathering is pre-flight, planning and authorization. Phase 2 is the actual flight itself. So we'll call upon suitable witnesses to come and testify. I have no doubt that the General Ismail will also be called, since he's an engineer. He can also help us answer some of the questions. So just to assure you that that will be considered by the Secretariat and the members as well. Lilonge Moody, and then we come to Chair. Okay.
Thank you so much, Honorable Chairperson. I have 4 quick questions that will require a quick answer. So I request the Chair if I could engage the Major General so that I ask and then he responds immediately. And then I move to the next question. Major General, you said you could communicate in English and Chichewa, so I will choose to ask you in Chichewa. If you can respond in English, that's all right. And some of the questions I'll ask you in English as well. Major General Ishmael, ndimafuna ndimvetse nkhani ya ELOT. Mukoza kuvomerezana nane nditanena kuti ELOT imeneyi ndiyofanana ukhala ngati airbag ya galimoto. Yoti magalimoto ena amakhala ndi airbag, ena amakhala opanda airbag. zikhoza kukhala ngati zofanana choncho? Funso langa loyamba ndiwene.
Thank you, Honorable. Thank you, Chair. Sizingafanani.
Okay.
Sizingafanani in a sense that ELT will not affect the operation of the aircraft.
Pepani, banyi mwanke muchizewa. Fuka labda muchizewa. Nde munati muyankula mafuso watu muchizungu ndi muchizewa. Nde muna makupe mpani. Mutatamba sula nkani yo muchizewa.
Ziko wami Chair. ELT ndi airbag. Yeah, inamvetsa funsolo.
Okay, I wanted to explain properly so that the answer should be a quick one. What I'm trying to say here is, manena kuti emergency locator transmitter si gwirizana ndi kuti ndege khoza kuuluka kapena yayi. So in my thinking inso ndi manena kuti airbag inso ya galimoto siletsa kuti galimoto yende kapena yayi. Ukhoza oyenda ndi galimoto yopanda airbag ukafika obwera konso magalimoto enanso alibe airbag koma amayenda. Ndi mafuna kuti mwina poti tukupanga izi kwa Malawi kuti amve bwinobwino kuti ndi mafuna ndimfuse kunena kuti kodi zikhoza kukhala ngati zofananirapo choncho kuti ikhoza kuyenda komano it's not necessary kuti ikhale ndi airbag monga ngati galimoto. Ndi funso langa liyenda lotero.
Nathokoza kwambiri Honorable. Kusiyana kwa airbag ndi ELT. ELT idzagwira ntchito pokhapokha ngati ndege yachita hard landing kapena yagwa. Koma singateteze munthu kuvulala kapena kumwalira. Pomwe airbag ikachita ikutetezani. ELT ingowauza enawo kuti kwagwa ndege uku. Sindikudziwa ngati ndayesetsa kuyankha funsolo.
Mwayesetsa zikoma kwambiri. Funso langa lachiwiri ndilaonena kuti mwapanga mu report yanu imene mwatipatsa mwapanga emphasize kwambiri on 3 crew members that were in the Donia. Manena kuti anauluka ndi 3 crew members. Panali funso lina wina atabwera witness uzatipatsira umboni kunena kuti ukhala ngati zimamvekamveka kuti ukhala ngati auti padalinso munthu wina mndegemu amene adakatseka chitseko cha ndege. Ndi mafuna ndimve poti inuyo mwagwira ntchito pa ndege nthawi yayitali. Kodi nzotheka kunena kuti pabwere munthu wina mu ndege kukhala kuti wakwera nawo ndege ija kapena wabwera nkudzatseka chitseko cha ndege nkumanyamuka zimachitika kapena zikhoza kutheka?
Nathokoza kwambiri Honorable. Through you, Chair. Ndizosatheka. Zimene zimachitika kawiri pa 3 po pilot ndi pilot in command. Kawiri timamutchula pilot in command as pilot flying. Winayo co-pilot amakhala pilot non-flying, PNF. Ndipo makhala timayikamo technician when we know that ndege isikabwerera lero ikagona konko. There must be somebody woti akapange prepare ndegeyo after flight and before the first flight. Amene uja amakhala mndege muja. Ntchito yake ndikuonesesa kuti ndege ija ma engines achita start. Ose amene akola moto tinene choncho. Nthawi zina mamona wina wake amayima mapanga chonchi. Amene uja amakhala technician wakuti ali mundege muja akatha ma chocks zijatimayika kutsogolo kwa matayala a ndege. Iyeyo akaona kuti ndege ijayo yachita start amaliza starting procedures. Ankati aja amampasa sign ya chonchi. Sign iyi ndionena kuti takonzeka kuti tinyamuke. Ngati pena pake mwina ndege je kupanga utsi pena pake engine amatere. ndikutere kuti adzimise ma engine something is wrong. So akapanga chonchi ankati aja nkumuuza kuti achose matala kutsogolo kuja. Akachosa amapereka sign yoti choncho ndikutere. Kuti machoks aja ndatani ndachosa si munthu wambayi. Zimenezo sazidziwa. Ntchito ya technician uja ndi imeneyo. Akachosa machoks aja amadziwa pamene owayika pali special place ku cargo compartment kumene amayika iye uja. Munthu ina aliyense sangangobwera kuti achose machoks. By the way, flight ya VP sipamakhala security pamene paja. Ndiye munthu akachoke uko kubwera uzachosa machoks ndi kutseka chitseko. Amene ujayo anali late Wells ID. Sanaone bwino si munthu wa mwamuna ayayi. It must have been kwa iwo maso awo a female ghost. Sorry to say that.
Zikomo kwambiri. Funso langa lotsatira ndilonena kuti mwatiuza mukupereka ripoti yanu kuti inuyo mwagwako pa ndege ya helicopter kawiri. Kaya namva bwino munanena kuti you have survived 2 crashes. Was that correct? Kuti namva bwino?
I did not mean that I survived, but I witnessed 2 crashes za my helicopters. 1 fatal, the 2 fatal and 1 survivor.
Chabwino. Zikomo kwambiri kuti mwapanga clarify kuti munapangako witness kapena munaonako ngozi ziwiri za ndege zimene zidachitika chifukwa cha bad weather. Munatero kuti chifukwa cha weather. Ndiyeno mukupitiriza kulongosola mnanena kuti mutalankhulana ndi akandula. Munawauza kunena kuti mukangolankhulana naso ndi air traffic controller wa kuMzuzu mwauze azibwerera. Kenako munabwerera meeting nkukakumananso ndi a General Phiri amene munali nawo meeting imo mukuwapanga brief nawonso anakuwuzani kunena zomwe zonse kuti aja azibwerera. Ndeni mafuna ndimvetsetse kunena kuti ndi inuyo amene mudapereka order kunena kuti mukangolankhulana nawonso ali mu ndegewo mwauze azibwerera. Kapena order imene idachokera kwa General Phiri kuwuzani kuti ayi kauzeni amene akulukawo kuti abwerere chifukwa cha bad weather. Mafuna ndingomvetsetsa pamenepo.
Zikomo kwambiri honorable. Ndinene kuti it was not an order to say mukalankhula nawo muauze as an order kuti abwerere. Because the pilot in command is the one who makes decisions. Koma ineyo with my deputy kukambira nkhani. We already feared of the West. But what we said is, that is, if there is no contact up to now, maybe if there is contact at any point, Mzuzu Tower auze. Because looking at the time, how long it will take to land if they insist in trying to land at Mzuzu in that bad weather. Nde abwana apite ku Nkatabe. If the weather continues deteriorating, are they going to take off from Mzuzu? Which means the VP would be stuck in Mzuzu. Sanga bwerere, because we know kuti Mzuzu dzuwa likamapita kumadzulo, the weather imachita it worsens. So we said after talking with him as 2 generals, we were saying, I think Ababa, the only way they should not attempt a landing, they should just fly back.
Zikomo kwambiri. Funso lomaliza ndilokhudzana ndi BFU mu inuyonso mudali nawo mu timu ngati ex officio. Mafuna ndimve ngati mukudziwa kodi adawalipira a BFU ndani? Adalipira ndi Malawi government kapena boma la ku Germany lidalipira for ntchito yawo a BFU?
Zikomo kwambiri honorable. That much I cannot give an answer, because what I remember is the German ambassador, we were in the same meeting with the German ambassador, and fuel akamaenda and zonse zozichita amalipira on their card because kulikonse umene amapita timapita limodzi. I was paying for my fuel, they were paying for their own fuel. Paying for my accommodation, they were paying for their accommodation.
That's all, Chair. Thank you.
We recognize Ncheu Sonzi, and then it was coming this direction, right? So you can decide between the two of you who should go first. So Ncheu.
Thank you so much, Chair, for granting us the people of Ncheuzo Zemvai constituency to ask a question to General Robre Ishmael. Mine, I just wish to learn from you, General Robre. What are the respective responsibilities of Air Force Commander, Base Commander, and MDF headquarters in such operations? Just wanted to learn from you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable, through you, Chair. The responsibilities, they start from the joint headquarters. Joint headquarters receives requests or orders from higher authorities, that is OPC, the VP's office, and any other office that may need services from the Air Force. So the commander would give an order to the Air Force headquarters, which is Air Force Commander's office. The Air Force commanders do not just take requests or orders from joint headquarters unless, in the first place, the commander asks the status of the aircraft. In fact, every week on Friday, the bases, the base commanders are required to submit aircraft status, let me just say equipment status, every Friday, so that the joint headquarters is aware of the status of aircrafts and equipment that the bases have, and that is to say, the status that the base commanders present to the joint, the Air Force commander. So the chain of command is from high above to joint headquarters, MDF headquarters, to Malawi Air Force headquarters, to the bases. Now the base commander has a very big responsibility. His responsibility is to make sure that the bases have serviceable equipment. They are the ones that know exactly the status of every aircraft and every equipment. And they report to the Air Force headquarters. They are the ones that normally have information of the status of the aircraft. Next inspections, they are the ones that have that information. Now, if, for example, a request comes to the Air Force commander will not answer that unless he contacts the base commander. Base commander cannot just answer that. He will confirm with the technical department. In the hands of the technical department. They are the ones that service the aircrafts. They are the ones that know the status of the aircraft. If, for example, an aircraft goes out for a flight and it comes back, during their post-flight or inspection after the flight, the technical department will know that this aircraft has come back with this discrepancy. Maybe an instrument was not working. It is the technical department that will inform the base commander to say, this aircraft has this problem. We need to sort out this problem. Give us, for example, depending on the type of work that they are going to do, 2-3 days to fix this thing. So that information is passed over a request is made to the base commander. Base commander will tell the Air Force commander of the status. The Air Force commander will inform the headquarters if it will take more than a day that this aircraft will not be serviceable until this day because we have this problem. I don't know whether I've answered your question, Honorable.
Well answered. Thank you.
Yes, you may proceed.
Thank you so much, Chair. I think I'll just have a chat with the General, Brigadier General. Yeah, through you, Chair. I mean Major General. So I will be asking through you, and I will just requesting for permission to engage okay. I wanted to start by learning something, or rather to confirm with the Major General, because there was a question, I think, is it in Katabe or Manza? Asked something about the witness who gave us a picture on the additional lady in Ninongwe. And he has answered well, but I wanted him to confirm that he is answering with reference to ideal situations. Otherwise, he would not necessarily know because he was not on the ground. Is that the case, Major General?
Thank you, Honorable. Thank you, Chair. It is true that I was not on the ground, but I'm answering from the practical point of view.
Exactly, Major General. I just wanted you to assure this committee and possibly Malawians that you're not a witness of fact, because you are not on the ground, despite knowing ideal situations that should, or standard practices that should happen. I just wanted that confirmation to affirm that you were not there.
Thank you.
Yes or no?
Yes or no? Why I'm saying this is, if we go back to the norm, that we are talking of somebody who penetrates the whole security at the airport. We are talking of Kia, not in the bush somewhere, but at Kia where security is there too, and that late Wells was there. I mean, I don't know, where was he when this lady was doing this type of job?
What I'm saying through your chair is for the witness to confirm that you are using assumptions. You were not on the ground. Just yes or no. It's a simple answer, Major General.
Yeah, I was not on the ground. That is true.
Thank you. Would you also confirm that the Donia, which got involved on the 10th, never had the integrated weather ladder? Would you confirm?
No, I wouldn't confirm that.
What's the standing on the weather ladder of that Donia?
The weather radar was supposed to be working. And in fact, I checked with the inspector in Zomba, who confirmed that the weather radar was working.
Thank you. Meaning to say issues of weather assessment were done by the aircraft itself and informing the necessary analysis to the pilots?
Through you, Chair, can I request that you repeat the question, please?
Okay, in a basic sense, the weather ladder would be assessing the weather like clouds and any dangers during the flight. Is that so?
That is true.
Now, you are saying the weather ladder on this plane, one, it's installed, and two, it was working. So we would be relying on the weather ladder more than even information from the ground. So the assumption from what you're saying is that pilots were acquainted with information, weather information, because they had a working weather ladder. So weather would not be an issue. Is that true?
Yeah, it's important to note that for navigational equipment, you have the weather radar, and then you have the GPS.
I'm talking of the weather radar for now.
Yeah, you do rely on the weather radar because it is the one that will give you the picture of the weather in that heading that we are taking.
Thank you. Chair, I wanted you to note that pilots had access to weather. They were assessing weather because they had an instrument which tells them on the dangers of the weather during flight. Thank you. Secondly, would you also confirm that the Donia was equipped with the terrain avoidance system?
I wouldn't confirm that unless if I confirm with the engineer in Zomba.
Okay. Meaning you don't have full information of the Donia?
Not on the Donia.
Thank you. Okay. Okay, thank you so much. We may get back to that maybe when the base commander comes. Just to confirm to this committee, would you confirm that instruments, directional instruments, were all working in the aircraft?
Yes, I confirm they were all working because during our inspection with the BFU, we checked on all the instruments that are on board the aircraft.
And as you rightly said that you have had vast experience with rather flying to Mzuzu. What were your reference instruments when you're getting to Mzuzu as you're landing? Beacons or stuff like that?
You mean when I was flying not on the Donia but on other aircrafts?
On the Donia.
Chair, let me correct that because I have never said that I was flying on the Donia. I've never flown in the Donia as a crew member.
My apologies, then I got it wrong. Then I may also have to spare that, maybe when the base commander comes. Otherwise, I was trying to get to a point just to ascertain and to also express worry on why, during the flight, there were those turns about 3 or 4 times. They also don't make sense to me. And that's why I was asking about these instruments, if they were all working. So as you are expressing your worry on that you can't understand why the aircraft was flying, making those round turns, 360 a couple of times, Chair, I'm also worried and I can't understand what might have been happening during that time. It doesn't make sense at all. I submit.
We go to Mulanje North. Just to establish or to confirm one point on the terrain proximity function that has been mentioned by Zomba Tondwe. You mentioned that you provided information and cooperated with the BFU. And this is contained in the BFU report. If you go to conclusions, item 3.1.2, the aircraft was equipped to fly under instrument flight rules and also had a navigation system with a terrain proximity function. You were the engineer. You also assisted in providing information to BFU. Can you confirm that the aircraft had a terrain proximity function or not?
Yes, on the terrain proximity, there are a number of instruments that work to give you information on the terrain proximity. You have the radio altimeter that you set, for example. The surface altitude is about 300 feet. You select that at 300 feet and you are flying. As you approach that 300 feet, that will give you a signal. That will give you a signal that you are now at 300 feet. Anything above, below that, you're too close to the terrain. That is one. This same instrument is the one that will tell you that you are flying at low speed and low altitude, and that your landing gear is still in. So this is a mechanism that will help you not to barely land, to land without landing gear. So immediately you hear that signal, then you check two things. The radio altimeter either is too low, below 300 feet, or your landing gear is still in, and your speed and altitude are low. So you would extend your landing gear. As I said, we may go into deeper details when we go into the BFU, because why was the landing gear down on this particular day, on this particular aircraft? Landing gear was down, and the flap was on one position as if they were preparing to land, but in the mountains. So we need to play around with all these facts to come up with a bit of understanding. So to answer your question, Chair, the terrain proximity, yes, it is there and it was working.
Thank you for that clarification.
Thank you, Chair. Just, I think 3 questions. Just for interest, was this plane insured?
Thank you, Honorable. Thank you, Chair. This plane was not insured. There was no insurance cover.
Okay. In the military, do you have independent body that can certify a plane similar to, for lack of better word, COF by an independent body? Apart from your own, your own engineers, certifying that this is fit to fly, do you have an independent body that can certify a plane as airworthy?
Thank you, Honorable. Thank you, Chair. No, we do not have, because we have qualified inspectors that are trained by the company itself for airworthiness.
Is that the standard elsewhere, where you, for example, in my own case, I've got my own car, I use my own mechanics, and when I meet traffic officers and say, no, my mechanics have said it is fit to be on the road. Is it a standard procedure elsewhere where military planes are not certified by independent bodies?
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Honorable. In most militaries, the equipment are all certified by their own inspectors or agents. We do not employ or use other agents because we have our own criteria for certification of airworthiness.
Thank you. Finally, one of the issues, we had an engagement with the General earlier on. He said before issuing an approval or authorization, one of the issues that that he considers, or a commander considers, is the weather constraints, a briefing on the weather, you want to chart it out, whether you can go, you consider, among other things, the weather. In the present scenario we're talking about, did you brief the General about the weather conditions before he gave the authority for the flight to be flown from Mzuzu to Lilongwe, and from Lilongwe to back to Mzuzu? Did you brief the General on the weather, prevailing weather conditions?
Thank you, Honorable. Thank you, Chair. I did not brief him because in Malawi, prevailing weather conditions are only given during brief before takeoff. Because before the pilots conduct a mission, they have to submit their flight plan and a briefing with the weather department at the airport. These are the ones that give details of the weather en route and at that particular time. So in Malawi, we don't have a forecast for aeronautics to know that in the next hour, weather will be like this. It is there and then that they receive, the crew, not communicated to the Air Force headquarters or wherever, no. Sometimes we even use our own phones to check weather or whatever, to check what the weather will be like tomorrow. But we cannot rely on that. In Malawi, the weather stations or weather gardens that we have, they only give you up to 2 hours, 3 hours maximum. You can't go beyond that. Well, in other countries, you are able to tell the prevailing weather for so many hours, even up to tomorrow, even for the week, but not in Malawi. In fact, I believe, if you check on the BFU report, they received that weather briefing at Kia. At Kia, yes, before leaving from Zuzu. They were already at the airport. So we couldn't know that. Thank you.
Okay, why I asked that is because he was here and he said you got the briefing and you was told the weather was okay, the plane would be, would proceed on the mission. Where did he get that information? Because he was here to say, yes, I got the briefing and I was told the weather was okay. That's why I gave the authority. Where did he get that information?
I do not know. Maybe he was taking it from the inbound route or flight when they were flying from Blantyre going to Mzuzu, or when they were flying from Mzuzu to Chikangawa International Airport, maybe. But briefings are done to the crew at the airport by the airport weather personnel. And also during their checklist when they are to depart, they are given the pressure, altitude, they are given temperature, they are given clouds, octas, and whatever, right there. But they are not given weather details for tomorrow or 3 hours after. Not in Malawi.
Yes, in short, no weather briefing was given to the general prior to him giving authority for the flight to go on a mission. That would be correct, isn't it? As far as you know.
As far as I know, depending on from where he got that information, I may not give any witness to that.
Thank you very much.
So just on the same point, General Valentino Peri said he was consulting with you widely and relied heavily on your advice as the commander of Air Force. Do you think you assisted General Valentino Peri in making the right decision to approve use of the military aircraft by the VP?
Yeah, what was involved in my participation in this is to give him the availability of the aircraft in terms of the technical aspect of the aircraft. Nothing about weather, nothing about anything else. But he gave that order that there is this requirement. And considering that the aircraft was already in Mzuzu, and nothing was reported of any discrepancy or any problem on the aircraft, I couldn't tell him anything contrary to that.
Thank you. Zomba City South.
Thank you so much, Chair. I'll start with the last question that I asked General Valentino Piri regarding time when the aircraft was approved by the Commander-in-Chief. There was a discrepancy to say what time was this approval given. And I think in his submissions, he says it might be some mistakes somewhere. I referred him to the MDF report. Now what you have presented vindicates what I said earlier, that this discrepancy needs to be explained. So I'm happy, Chair, that the 1520, that is on page 2, as well as the 17 hours, that is on the same page, and what I said to the General, that the crew members were told at 1732 in Nzuzu, upon arrival of the impending next assignment. I think I've been vindicated. So I'll proceed and also ask the General, is it the Major General, regarding the MA 600 aircraft. Until now, I was of the impression that these MA 600 aircrafts are not flying, but you have just informed us that this one was used to carry people from Zomba Air Base to Lilongwe. Can you confirm that they used the MA 600?
Yes, I do confirm, Honorable.
Thank you very much. Chairperson, I also wanted the Major General to compare Donia 228 and MA 600 in terms of navigating bad weather.
Thank you, Honorable. Through you, Chair. The comparisons in terms of weather detection or whatever, these two aircrafts are very, very different. The MA600 is a very modern aircraft because even when you talk about the cockpit voice recorder, the data flight recorder, they have. The most recent aircraft, and it is all digital. It's not analog. All the instruments are digital. It's a very modern aircraft. So to add on to what you have asked, that this aircraft is the one that flew the search and rescue team from Chireka. It is true. Those two aircrafts have been flying, and this particular one, when it was flying from Chireka to Kamuzu International Airport, it was the same day, if not the previous day, it was flying from DRC, Congo. It's an aircraft that can fly long distances with modern technology, with all the technologies that, because that one was not manufactured as a military aircraft. That one was a commercial aircraft. MA600 is a commercial. Zambia Air Force is using the MA60, not 600. The only difference is that the MA600 is a very modern digital instruments and everything, while the MA60 is analog. That's the only difference. But whatever the engines and everything, they are the same aircraft. Maybe you will ask another question to say, why are they not flying? I will not preempt, but maybe that may come at another forum.
No, but I would want to ask, why was it not assigned to carry the VP to take him from Lilongwe to Mzuzu, given that the circumstances were very tight? The Donia was meant to carry the people returning from Late Kasambara funeral. So we had to detain the aeroplane in Mzuzu when we had an alternative aeroplane, modern aircraft available in Zomba that could have been used to carry the vice president. Also understanding that the Donia at this time was configured to be an air ambulance and was not a VIP aircraft. When we had a modern aircraft in the hangar that could have been used to ferry the former vice president. Why was it not used?
Thank you, Chair. That's a very good question. The MA600 is a very heavy aircraft, and it can only land on airstrips more than 3.5 kilometers long. So that's why we are keeping, in fact, it is not in Zomba, it is in Chireka. Because one, it cannot land in Zomba, it cannot land in Lilongwe Air Base, it can only land at Kia, not even in Karonga, West Steel, Mzuzu Airport.
Okay, which means you knew that Mzuzu Airport was not licensed or was not fit for this MA600 to land. Is that right?
Yeah, Mzuzu Airport is not long enough for that MA600 to land or take off.
Thank you so much, Chairperson. That was exactly my question, so thank you for asking for me. Chair, I have another concern. The people who are coming from Zomba, they were coming as a search and rescue team. I just feel there was no sense of urgency in the way the MDF commanded these people from Zomba. Why am I saying that? They arrived in Lilongwe at 5:45 on the 10th, and they slept in Lilongwe. And they left the next morning, arrived in Chikangawa at 9 a.m. Chair, I'm having an impression that the military was searching during day and maybe not during the night. I don't get the urgency. Our second citizen, we don't know where he is. His flight and him and 8 others. And the rescue team coming from Zomba, they fly on this modern equipment. They have that luxury. This modern equipment, they arrive in Lilongwe, they go and sleep somewhere in a hotel in Lilongwe. And in the morning, they arrive there at 9 a.m. We are told here by several witnesses that we're arriving there even at 6 a.m., 4 a.m., 5 a.m. to search for our second citizen. The military shows up at 9 a.m. from Zomba, having slept in a hotel in Lilongwe. Now they're sleeping in a hotel, their second citizen, they don't know where he is. Chair, I don't know if there was that sense of urgency in the military. So he was maybe in command. I thought maybe he should speak to this feeling that I have, that the MDF did not have any sense of urgency in searching for our second citizen. Maybe if he answers that, I have a final question.
Thank you, Honorable. Thank you, Chair. As I explained about their flight or the need to fly from Zomba, from Chireka to Lilongwe, that was the only means of transport that we could find for these people to move from Zomba to Lilongwe, to join the search and rescue team at Chikangawa. We could have used any other. In fact, let it be known that the search and rescue that was happening here was, let me say, in Chichewa, Tigwira party. we have helicopters equipped for search and rescue equipment lying there. And we want people to travel all the way from Zomba to Chireka, from Chireka to Kia. We had a brief after because they arrived at Kia. We had to send that transport to pick them up, to come to the base, and then we had our briefing. I cannot confirm that they slept in a hotel. I cannot confirm that. But what is on the ground is that after the briefing, they had to take a rest and leave at 3 a.m. At 3 a.m. If some people were arriving at 9 o'clock, it depends where they were driving from. And the mission for them was to go and join people who were already in the search and rescue, people from Moyale Barracks, and those who were already there in the forest. So the concern for, I don't see any luxury in the movement, because it was one thing that we couldn't do otherwise. And one thing that we need to point out is we are in a situation where we have lost our friends. We have lost our friends. And doing things is not like doing things normally. For example, in my case, I was totally broken down. Totally broken. It took me days to start feeling who I am. Those guys were my children. I raised them up, I trained them. We grew together. We used to call names by first names. It wasn't easy to do these things. It wasn't easy at all. So I don't see any luxury in their participation. That's the maximum we could have done. Otherwise, the same time we lost contact, immediately we were taking a helicopter for search and rescue. That's what we did when we lost those 2 aircrafts. Immediately, we started search and rescue. And within 20, 30 minutes, we were able to locate all these our friends. But this one was totally different because we were incapacitated.
No, thank you. I think you have responded. We might differ there, whether you see luxury or not. I see a lot of luxury. We can agree to differ there. The second citizen is missing. Chair.
Yes,
Chair, I'm rising on a point of order. I want you to guide us. Should we give our opinion or impression when asking questions to witnesses?
So if there's a question that members must answer to one another, we will do it after the session internally.
Chair, I'm raising a question on a point of order. Should we give our impression, what we are feeling, to the witness? Because I want you to guide me so that I should also start doing that.
Yep. If you want to establish facts, because we are here to gather evidence.
Okay, so I can tell the witness, this is my opinion or this is my impression, yes. And then the witness should respond.
They can validate or dispute
Thank you
that,
very much.
Because we want to gather facts. We may have a wrong opinion, but a wrong opinion must not prevail without giving an opportunity to the witness to validate that or to dispute it.
Okay, I'll take that line, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairperson, for that guidance. I'll proceed. Since you have refuted that you don't see any luxury in what I've said, or the travel of the rescue team from Zomba, did you see any luxury, or do you see any luxury in the configuration of the chairs in the Malawi 2 that carried the late Vice President? I'm asking this because the executive chairs that he was supposed to use were not there. And what I was told is that he sat on a normal chair. Do you see any luxury there?
Thank you, Honorable. Thank you, Chair. Let us have a clear picture that this was an ambulance flight. It was already in Mzuzu in that ambulance configuration. And we have this request for the VP to travel to attend this urgent sermon. I don't know, it would have been very easy to say, no, let us go back to Zomba, put the luxury seats, put the table, and then the VP will not attend the burial, not at our level. But this was known to the headquarters that the aircraft is in an ambulance configuration. There's nothing we could have done to look for luxury seats in Mzuzu.
Thank you, Chair. So you remember I started with the issues of time, the alignment of time, and he said he got a call from the general then, Valentino Piri, about this second flight or assignment at 15:20. That was in the afternoon. So I'm asking myself, what stopped MDF or MAF from picking the chairs from Zomba and bringing them here in Lilongwe on the same day, knowing that the second citizen will be traveling the next day around 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock? I want to get that response. We knew 15:20 when the general called you that the second citizen will be flying on that air ambulance. So what did we do to make sure that those chairs that were in Zomba were brought here on the same day, so that the next day our second citizen sits in comfort? I submit, Chair.
You want to take that?
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Honorable. I am trying to figure out the aircraft is in Mzuzu. That's the only aircraft available. And then we want to get comfortable seats from Zomba. How? To take them to Lilongwe, to keep the VP waiting, to remove those seats, put the other seats for him to travel to Mzuzu. Here we are looking at the time frame. How much could we do with the time frame that we had? I believe it needed some courage and some energy to be able to do that, and the resources to take the seats from Zomba, find the right transport to take those seats to Zomba, to bring them to Lilongwe. Or you may say, why not the MA600? It's even worse, taking those seats from Zomba, taking them to Chireka, to fly from Chireka, to fly to Kia, and start changing seats when the vice president is waiting. I don't know, I don't understand. But it all takes, I mean, I may concur with the Honorable that, I mean, we are looking at, to me, sorry to say this, at the issues that may not bring us to any closer to find out what we are looking for. Otherwise, we have information to analyze, we have details to look at so that we come to an understanding. How did we lose those lives? We are talking of comfortable seats or whatever. I think I have a problem, Chair.
No, Chairperson, I think comfortable seats, we still have to pursue it because we are talking about a second citizen. And so the same problem that we are having, I also have the same problem, to say if it was the first citizen, assuming it was the first citizen in question, we couldn't have found the transport from Zomba to bring the chairs here to make sure the first citizen is comfortable. So you might not answer that question, but I still don't understand why the issue of comfortability for a second citizen was not considered. I submit, Chair.
Okay, Lulongi Modi, and then we can wind up.
Chair, I want to ask the General just one question. General, I have an impression that you were working under intense pressure to turn the ambulance into a VIP transportation. I'm asking this because there is no documentation requesting this aircraft. It was an emergency kind of deployment that you had. And you had no opportunity to refuse, because you could have refused and say, we don't have an aircraft. So is my impression correct that you were working under pressure or under political pressure? Thank you, Chair.
So, Chair, you may answer his opinion.
Thank you, Honorable. Thank you, Chair. I may not be comfortable to say under political pressure because that is none of my assignments. But pressure, yes. Pressure, yes. Because we already have an aircraft in Mzuzu, and there was an immediate requirement. Now, thinking about changing configuration and all that was something that we had to think about. Can we do ABCD? Can we do that? Can we? Otherwise, we have denied providing aircraft to heads of state. We have done that. One, for example, if it is a single engine. There was an incident in one of the heads of state in Palombe. The weather was very bad. We told them, we will have to leave before this time. So it was campaign period, they were talking and whatever. The presidential aircraft had to leave. We told them we are leaving now because we are not allowed to fly the head of state at night. This is already last night, we cannot fly the head of state. What happened is we left, landed at Chileka. There was that small aircraft, the Equerel, that was positioned there with one of the red pilots. And the head of state, when he heard that that aircraft is gone, he says, now what do? I don't want to drive. What is this aircraft doing here? So he said, no, this one will be escorting you as you drive to Blantyre. So he says, no. Is this going to fly to Blantyre? I will fly in this one. But it's not allowed for a head of state to fly in a single engine aircraft. It's a fact. So we said no. He insisted until we talked to the commander, said, the Bwana here, he says he still wants to fly in a single engine aircraft. So they talked. What happened last was, he said, me and the first lady, we fly, whether we die or whatever, but you take us there. So we gave instructions to the pilot to say, do whatever, you are flying the aircraft. If he comes in and should something happens, we are not answerable. So there are instances, several instances where we have said no to VIP using the aircraft. Even landed in Chikangawa some time back, bad weather, we landed, and they had to travel by road. Because we said, with this weather, we are not taking off. What do? You take the road. So they did. So we are not, the pressure, yes, of course, in this particular instance, the pressure was there. But now the aircraft is already in Mzuzu. It was possible, the aircraft to fly to, but in that configuration, actually, I believe that even the protocols at Kia, when they saw that there were those type of seats, it was up to them to say, this is second citizen. He cannot fly in this. It is the protocol that are supposed to say that, but not us. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs protocol are the ones to say, "Mtufuna carpet up." If not, then whatever, but not us. That's not our job. Our job is to provide what we have, the platform that we have at that particular time.
No, thank you very much, Cheno. I just take you to item number 9. You reported that on 11th June, an accident report was sent to the manufacturer, now General Atomic. Are you in a position to furnish us with that report?
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I have that report that was sent to them. I don't know whether I have it in my bag or, but I can always furnish it with to the committee.
Okay, I think Secretariat will follow up with you. My final one is, what is your impression on the conduct by the military to hire out military aircrafts to civilians and VVIP without their knowledge on the status of the aircraft that they are procuring? What is your impression?
Thank you, Chair. My impression is that when it comes to procurement of aircrafts, we have a problem. A problem in a sense that in most cases, the Air Force is not contacted or given a chance to give its opinion. Government, in most cases, procures aircrafts without the consent of the Air Force. I'll give a very simple example. Is the procurement of the MA600. At the time that procurement was done, the military, we already had requested CASA 295 aircraft. This CASA is similar to the MA600. It has all military capabilities and all the optionals to change it to VIP, to cargo, to military, to whatever. The contract was about to be signed. But at that very time, there came the Chinese. I don't know whether I should still be on camera. I request from you, Chair, if...
But I think my point was, is it fair to the customers or the VVIP or the civilians to use the aircraft without knowledge that this aircraft does not have ELT, does not have a black box, because it is being used for disasters. Several institutions are using it. It's being used for humanitarian aid. And these people are hiring without knowledge of the safety of that aircraft. I'm just asking, is it fair for the military to be doing this?
Thank you, Chair. The fairness comes in when we consider the configurations of the aircraft. Because as we say, in terms of airworthiness and serviceability of the aircraft, they are military aircraft with serviceable and airworthy aircraft. Whether the civilians know that the may not be not allowed, but they may not fly in those aircrafts, that I cannot tell, because it's not a requirement for flying for safety, unless if that need comes out. As we said, ELOT is for when there is a crash. And for the flight recorder, it's for data flying data that it records. So I do not know, maybe that should be put on the media or whatever to say these aircrafts are military, therefore civilians should not hire them. I don't know. That may come from the authorities, not at our level.
Sure. Or you hire at owner's risk and you disclose the features of the goods and services you are buying. That's what I'm saying. But anyway, we will go around in circles. General, I want to give you a chance to maybe say a few remarks and conclude our session. Do you have any remarks you would like to make?
Thank you, Chair. Mine is just to thank you, Chair, and thank the honorables, and especially thank the government for coming up with this idea to reinvestigate circumstances under which this accident happened. I hope and believe that through this ad hoc committee, the truth will come out. But for the truth to come out, it will need open mind and determination to understand what may have been happening during that flight. We may miss out, very easily miss out, if we focus on issues that may not bring us to an understanding. So I would request that we take this issue soberly and with that determination to come up with the truth. I am privileged. I've served the Air Force for some time. I have now retired. This accident will always leave a scar in my heart. Why? It is because I took this command as Air Force commander. I flew with this crew on 27th May. And in June, we lose all of them, including the aircraft. It will always remain, or it will leave a scar in my mind. Although I'm in retirement now, of course I'm retired, but I've been requested to go and train the young generation that are there. I accepted that willingly with an idea that I may contribute something towards Malawi and towards the young generation that are coming, to be able to make decisive or decisions that will take this country to a position where we will be able to answer to any mission, more especially ambulance, search and rescue. These are vital to any nation. Transport or whatever is not an issue, but for this, ambulance and search and rescue are very vital to our survival as a nation. I submit, Chair.
Thank you, General. We all learn from mistakes, and they say the beginning of reform is acceptance, but not denial. So if we accept, our shortcomings, we will always have put measures for continuous improvement. So don't take it hard upon yourself. We wish you well. I'm glad that you're back in the system to contribute towards national security. Sure, as we said, this is not the last interaction we're going to have. We looking forward to having another interaction when we start the actual flight phase. But you may take leave, General. You've been very calm. I must applaud you in your responses. We don't take it lightly. We wish you all the best.
Thank you very much, Chair. Thank you very much, Honorables. Thank you.